Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Mastermind Minutes. My name's Gary Occhigrosso. I am the founder and managing partner for Franchise Growth Solutions. We are a franchise development and sales organization. You can find us on the internet at our website. And Mastermind Minutes, for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, is a very simple webcast/podcast where we interview one guest. We have one topic or one question, and we like to get some insights in minutes, not hours. Of course, as I always say, we realize that's a bit of a tease, so you may want to contact the guest directly after the program, and of course, we'll post all their contact information on the webcast and the podcast. Today, my guest is Chris Clarke. He is the CEO and co-founder of Poppin Video. He's a successful entrepreneur and software developer who works with small businesses to leverage new technologies into reduced costs and greater profits. He's developed apps for many businesses, and most recently, he's been occupied with the development of a new service that allows small businesses affected by the pandemic to offer their customers an in-store experience right from their website for a price that's easily within budget. And I think that's a very, very important piece right now, because with the pandemic, obviously we've had some disconnect in customer service. So before we get into the question, Chris, thank you very much for being with us this morning. I truly appreciate it. Tell us a little bit about Poppin Video, how it started, and what your involvement or your insight or inspiration was to get it going, and then we'll get into the question.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Gary. It's great to be here. I'm glad that we are both blessed to have this technology available to us to make this happen remotely. We'll get more into that, I'm sure, as we get into the question. But as you mentioned, up till last year, my main focus, my main business was actually developing apps for small business in local communities. And it just so happened that basically the perfect description of my target client was exactly the most affected segment by this pandemic, which is physical storefronts that depend on frequent in-store visits. I would develop things like loyalty programs and into the app and communication thing, and a whole bunch of things. But that kind of came crashing down when the initial lockdowns came in, and on the whole, I've actually been somewhat impressed and hopeful with how many small business have been able to hang on so long. There's light at the end of the tunnel now, so it's looking like the damage isn't going to be maybe as bad as it is at first looked right in those initial weeks, so that's something to be grateful for. But that's basically what, prompted and basically forced the pivot from working with developing apps for these local businesses to figuring out some way to help them kind of cope with it, survive, get through the pandemic, ideally even, maybe thrive, maybe take this as an opportunity. I know it's a little trite and we've heard this kind of thing, but I really was hopeful that maybe this kind of giant event would spur individuals and businesses to maybe take a look at how they were doing things and maybe implement, technologies, policies, things that maybe would have been even better before the pandemic and will enhance their business even going forward. So, that's basically a business partner of mine, a frequent collaborator of mine. We got on the phone early on and we got talking about all these issues and started brainstorming. And one of the things that we realized that we were really missing, as simple as it is, it's like that line, you don't know what you got till it's gone, was that experience of just, walking down the street and you see a story or you have something in mind, you're not really sure you have a project, just the ability to just pop into a store, look around, see what they have, what they don't have, talk to an employee, get their opinion on things, have that shared experience of like grabbing something off the shelf and asking someone, hey, this doesn't say this on the package, you have a question about it, or I'm looking, I can't find something, that kind of thing. And we realized, maybe that's something that we could help them replace with these technologies. And I think we all saw a lot of like I'm a big podcast and YouTube listener and watcher, and you saw them all, even the late night shows, go from like in studio and production to like the remote working, and they're all using Zoom. That became a household name. Uh, and but it's a little bit clunky in terms of that experience that I was just talking about, the pop-in experience, right?
Right.
Like
Right. I
you
understand.
need to set it all up. You need to
Mhm.
have links and that kind of thing. So we were kind of hoping to get something that would leverage those same technologies, but have that smoothness of experience where, it's casual, it's anonymous, it's in and out, it's, that kind of thing. And what we came up with was a pop-in video.
Okay,
And
and I'm going to
yeah,
ask you to tell us about that in just a minute. So
right,
thanks for that explanation. And I think, a couple of points. First of all, your comment of you don't know what you got until it's gone. Thank you
right,
for the reference to a lyric in a Joni Mitchell song from
yeah.
way back in the day when I was young and dinosaurs ruled the world.
Well,
Uh,
still classic.
but it's a classic line, and I think it's uh, Big Yellow Taxi, actually. Is
That's the one. Yeah, yeah. But the
where
classics are classics because they're still after all this time still ring true, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. So I guess, for me, when you talk about the experience, the retail experience, and as you know, myself being in the franchised restaurant business, restaurants are all about kind of that experience, and
Absolutely.
we've managed. And I agree with you that it is surprising to me that retail slash restaurants have managed to hang on. Now, it's interesting because I have restaurant clients and franchises all across the United States, and it appears to me that the units that are in more suburban type locations are doing far better than restaurants that are in urban locations. And that's pretty obvious. Most people are working from
Yeah.
home, they're in their neighborhoods, what have you. They're ordering
Right.
dinner and that sort of thing.
They're already set up for delivery.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah.
get there.
Now some of those restaurants, and I think this ties into what you're saying about retail. So I'm going to
Hmm.
kind of use this, and then we'll kind of cross that bridge.
Right.
Fast casual and quick service restaurants, many are doing fine. Okay, the
Mm.
fine dining establishments that really part of the reason you go or the reason they exist is because you actually go and there's an experience surrounding a fine dining experience which might last 2 hours 3 hours with friends versus
Right.
running into a Chipotle, grabbing a burrito, and eating it in your car or something like that. Okay,
Sure.
so
Sure.
so fine dining establishments that really rely on that connection, they've had a hard time.
Mm.
So I would imagine, to use the example you used about going into a retail store, maybe a clothing shop, picking something that that is really missing because I know a lot of people shop on Amazon, but at the end of the day, if I'm when I'm shopping, I especially for things like clothing, I'm not doing it on Amazon or online. I want to go. I want to talk to someone. I want to look at it. I want to hold it. I want to touch it. Whatever, or
Right.
at the very least, I want to have that conversation. So
Sure.
tell me about the technology that, and I think the proper name or the complete name of the company is Poppin LLC, but it's referred to as Poppin Video. So
Yeah. Yeah. You can find it at popinvideo.com, and yeah.
great. So tell us how that now solves this problem of trying to get retailers and customers to connect.
Right, right. Well, I mean, like with all technologies, it does, have its limits. Definitely won't be able to simulate the fine dining experience. Unfortunately, that requires a certain level of ambiance and effort. But your other example there of like the retail clothing experience, that is definitely one. Now, again, you're not going to be able to, hold the material and feel it, but you have a lot more opportunity to recover some of that experience. So let me explain what it is first, I guess, and then it'll be easier to
Yep.
to follow along. And
Yep.
so what it is, from the business owner's perspective point of view, it basically is a line of code that you paste into your website. So it's like 5 minutes from sign up to set up, and you paste that in, you refresh your page, and what you get is a little button on the corner of your website Very similar to the live chat features that have been cropping up all over the place, right? Where so you click on it, little window pops up, and you can chat with a live agent. Well, what we've done is basically that experience, but instead of chatting with a live agent, you press a button and it starts a video call to a staff member or a business owner on the other end. So from the customer's point of view, you just go to a website like you do, and if you're on a device, you've got your camera. If you're on a laptop, you probably have a camera. Basically, every computer that is serving websites generally these days has a camera and microphone. So you just press a button, it opens those up, and then you're doing basically a FaceTime call or whatever, a video call right from the website.
So,
And
let me just wait. Let me just jump in because I want to make
yeah,
sure, just for our audience and for those of you just joining us, we're talking with Chris Clarke, who's the CEO and co-founder of Pop and Video. And we're talking about retailers kind of connecting with their customers. So, I just want to understand. We're not talking about like opening a website and then some like chat bot comes up and we're kind of texting back and forth with a machine that
oh
has
no,
kind of canned answers to, I don't know, the 10 most likely questions the
right,
customer is, likely to ask, which is why they're likely questions. That's why I put it that way.
right, right.
What you're saying is that it's almost as if if I'm the customer and I'm using the app. I'm assuming it's an app,
Well, no,
correct?
it's not. That's the genius of this whole thing.
Okay. Well, wait. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. So
Sure.
I'm using your technology.
Right.
I'm actually now connecting to the person on site as if I've just walked into the store and I've been greeted by a salesperson.
Exactly. Well, more that you've gone up to a salesperson,
Okay,
just
okay,
just
okay,
to
fine.
split hairs on it.
Okay,
Right.
well, I'm a salesperson, so I'm a bit more aggressive. But go
Right.
ahead.
Right. But that is
Yeah,
the way that it's set up. Is that you have to start it, so you're not getting approached. It's not. It's a less of an aggressive approach, but yes, from the customer's point of view, you're basically tapping a staff member on the shoulder and saying, "Excuse me, I'm here." And it doesn't require any sign up or account or even giving the name or anything at all. It's literally just uh, we try to simulate the in-store experience as much as possible, which
right,
is,
right. So,
excuse me,
excuse
I'm
me, you said
here.
it's not an app. So what is it?
Well, it's just on the website. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, the staff the staff has an app to answer the calls. So
Ah,
it's a little sometimes confusing to explain it because there is an app but not for the customers.
right,
But so they answered on their phones, and so they can either have just a face-to-face video chat, or they can actually go ahead and flip the camera around, and use the rear face of the camera so they can walk with you through the aisles and show you the shelves and show you products, and demonstrate them like that, and then flip back and forth. Or also, if you are calling from you can call from a mobile device just through the browser, right? So we all have phones, we go on
right,
websites on the phone, so you can actually, if you're calling from a phone, flip it around as well. Show your, let's say you have a kitchen project, right, and you want to put up some kind of shelf. And so this is where it comes into what I was saying before, is like, maybe we can actually use this to make things better than they were, hopefully. That's kind of a little bit of an optimistic hope
mhm,
maybe, but here's an example we hope is an example of just that. So let's say you have some project in your shelf, you want to put some in your kitchen, you want to put some shelving. Normally the best you could do, if you go to a hardware store or something, you could bring pictures, right, of your kitchen these days, and that's already an improvement of what it was, a decade ago. But now you can actually live video show them what it is you're working with, and then they can show you, well, we've got this shelf, and with these things, and you can say, oh, well, is that going to fit? Let me see. Let me get out a ruler, and measure it right in front of them. So you can have a two-way remote
right,
conversation with full audio visual. So they're, as if they're in your kitchen and as if you're in their store.
right. And
Um,
it makes perfectly good sense. Like for a person like me, and by the way, that's a great example that you just gave, because when it comes to like fixing stuff, or you mentioned
right.
stuff, that's like not my thing. And yeah, I take pictures, but then try to explain it to someone.
Right.
It would be
You
so
get
much
there and you
easier if I had
realize,
that person and I could show them. So I get
yeah,
that. I mean,
you,
another example for me, picking ties
right.
is an issue. So if
Sure.
if somebody who had a better sensibility to that in a, I don't know, in a department store, in a men's clothing store, actually was able to kind of take their phone and like show me the ties,
Right.
or I
Yeah.
could show them what I want to match it to. Here's the suit I'm wearing. Here's the shirt. I think
Exactly.
that's
And they see
brilliant.
you too, right? So like you can
Yeah,
actually, yeah, here's what I'm wearing. And then, and with a mirror or something, I'm sure there's a way to actually even hold up the tie, to your,
yeah,
or
yeah.
something like that. I'm not sure
You
if that
see,
would work exactly, but
I think that's brilliant because you mentioned, you're saying hopefully not only does it definitely solves a problem, but then you said hopefully it makes something a little bit better. That's an example where I think it's a little bit better because I can have the convenience, let's say, I can have the convenience of a digital purchase perhaps, because I might just be on their website, but
yeah,
yet I could connect that to the personal retail experience. I'm not, and that's one of my I don't want to say pet peeves, but as an older person, I didn't grow up in the digital world.
right.
It's what you're expected to teach yourself when you're shopping online. And I don't want to
Yeah.
work that hard to spend my money. I want someone to teach me the
Making the money.
benefit of what I'm buying. So I I,
Right.
I can see that as a unique benefit to
Yeah.
it.
It actually, it brings up a point because we didn't even, we were so focused on the retail experience and simulating that. It was only as we were developing the marketing, after, like when we were putting together the website, we realized, this actually, you don't even need a storefront for this really, to benefit, because like you said, the e-commerce sites, we didn't think about it when we were developing it, but actually, yeah, it's a great hybrid because of course the convenience of an e-commerce, you go through all the thing, go through all the products, go through the description, but just sometimes you've got a question that isn't answered there, or you just pictures, sometimes you can't tell quite how big it is, or
Mhm.
what the color, you need some sort of scale, there's something missing, right? And like you said, this gives uh, e-commerce websites the ability to add on that retail experience to the convenience, um, of the e-commerce
Yeah.
store. Like, so, and even stores like, even the big chains like Best Buy, right? They've got a sort of a hybrid experience, right? Like you can go in and buy stuff, and then they have their e-commerce stuff where you can order and pick it up. But there's that bridge that's kind of missing, and this would be where that would go, right? So like you could be browsing the site, the store, uh, and if you had a question, you just hit the button, somebody pops up, they could see what page you're on, or you could tell them what product you're looking at. They could grab it in store and follow along with you,
Yep.
or show it to you. And then, yeah, I'd like to order that. Go ahead, put that aside. They put in the order and you go pick it up. There's all kinds of different ways depending on what store, what industry. There's a lot of different ways that you could actually implement it.
Yeah, I
But
could I could see that. And one of the things you just mentioned here, and it's a disconnect for me at times, is um, I think one of the really nice aspects of what you're talking about is that the person who's on the other end, on the retail side, that
right,
person is trained and dedicated for that experience.
right,
You mentioned Best Buy, okay, and I'm not picking on Best Buy, okay. I have a bunch of stuff in my
they'll be fine. They'll be
office
fine.
about Best Buy, but when you call someone at a Best Buy or a retail establishment, it's generally someone who's just picking up the phone. They're not
Yeah,
prepared necessarily to answer my question. Sometimes, like, well, I don't know, let me switch you to the person who can help you, and then you get
right.
switched around, or gee, I don't really know. But what you're saying is that through your technology, the person on the other end of the phone is specifically designed, so to speak, or trained
Trained, right.
to know that that incoming call is going to be a person who was needing that retail touch. Correct? I mean, am I hearing that
Yeah,
correct?
that's it. Well, it's literally the same person, in fact. So everybody who works on a Best Buy floor, and I know, at the beginning of this whole thing, the watch, the buzz phrase was, we're all in this together. As things rolled out, we realized different regions are going to have different experiences. So it's a little tricky to make really broad statements that apply to everywhere. But if you're an example, hypothetically, a Best Buy where, you know, you've got the staff there, but there's nobody coming into the store because of either restrictions or just social anxiety about it. You're literally giving it to those same employees. It's not like you need to open up a call center or hire anyone new. You're literally just you're just having them download the app on their phones. The same people who are in those aisles that would be taking requests from people walking in, now they're just answering their phone and walking them around, you know, on their phone rather than them being right next to them. But
Right. No,
it's
I,
you know,
I think
the
it's
same
great.
people. So yes, no extra training required. That's for sure.
It's what they should be doing if a guest walked into the establishment. I get it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what type of businesses have contacted you or signed on already? Like what are you seeing that this technology, who is it connecting with on the retail side? I understand the customer side. Who's it connecting with on the retail side?
Yeah. Well, it's still rather new. It took you know, a little bit longer than we wanted to get actually fully developed and ready to market. But so it's fairly recently launched. The first big success that we had was a furniture store, and you know, they were sort of hodgepodging. You know, they had their doors closed, but they were still open for business. For deliveries and stuff. So they were having, you know, people call in, and then they were sort of, okay, give me your phone number and I'll send you some text messages of photos. And they were kind of trying to do all of that. And once they got this sort of installed and set up, now people going through the website were just clicking it, going through, and it was just a lot more streamlined. So
Yeah.
that was a great example. You know, yeah, it just made the whole experience a lot more normalized, you know, and
Okay.
so that was good.
I can see it. I mean, you know, sometimes, again, sometimes when we have different folks on this program or folks that I speak with, especially folks who are, you know, very technology centric,
Mm,
it's hard to really embrace or wrap my head around, you know, okay, what are you talking about and why would anyone need this? But this is very simple. It's very practical. It's very understandable.
mm,
Because
good to
what it
hear.
does is, again, I think what you said earlier, it's not completely replacing the experience, but it is
Right.
emulating an important piece of the retail experience, and that is the one-on-one live dialogue that you would have with someone in a retail store that simply doesn't exist on a chat bot or a text message or that sort of stuff. So I get
Right.
that. So I guess what I would say, you know, in closing, just tell me what you'd like to add to this, because I'm saying here, you know, if you run a small business, a retail business or otherwise, because I like the connection to an e-commerce business, you should definitely get in touch with Chris on this, because this is new and it's pretty exciting. As far as I'm concerned, it's exciting, and I think many people would think the same thing. What
I
would
hope
you
so.
like to add, Chris, here, just in closing, and then we'll tell folks how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's a tricky one, I guess. Uh, you know, just overall, I mean, I'm sure it's trite and everyone's heard it before, but I mean, we all know this has been a rough year for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people haven't made it through. A lot of people, you know, a lot of us have, obviously, but um, I guess I'll just, you know, end on a message of hope. Like, you know, the vaccine's here, it's rolling out. You know, things are, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We are, you know, getting to the end of it, but we can still hold on to the opportunity that existed at the beginning of this thing, which is, you know, it did give us a little opportunity to slow down and think a little bit and revise, you know, how we do things, and maybe there are better ways to do things. So hopefully we can hold on to some of those things, you know, going forward as we move out of this, and maybe this is something that's one of them.
I agree. I agree, and I guess I agree. And to kind of tag on to that hopeful message, and I appreciate that a lot. Is, you know, I've said to folks, and I've thought about this, as horrible as this entire experience has been for the world, not just our country,
Sure.
there have been things that have come out of it that are positive. So, for example, technology that already existed but wasn't being used, people were forced to use it. So, from from a usability point of view, we've been pushed maybe 5 years ahead of what would have been a normal evolution. I
Right.
think the other thing is, in your particular case, in this particular technology, as with some other things that have come up, I think post-pandemic, there are things that were developed during the pandemic that will still have a very, very useful life
Yeah.
after the pandemic. And
One would
certainly
hope.
pop in video would appear to be one of those as far as I see it, because even though I might be able to go out and run out to the store, I might not have time. So why
Right.
give up the experience when pop in video is available to me? It makes
Exactly. And
perfect
hopefully,
sense.
you know, like we said, soon we'll be able to do it, but why not have both, right?
Why not have both? I'm with you.
Option.
I'm with you, pal.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so tell me, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, is there a website? Like, how can they do it? Again,
So
remember, we always post your contact information, but just quickly, how would someone get in touch with you?
right, right. Well, I mean, you can, you know, we have a website where you can check all this out. It's at popinvideo.com.
Mhm.
You know, personally, I try to remain out of the public eye as much as possible. This has been fun,
Right.
so maybe I'll do a lot more of these. But we do have a contact form. You know, if you do have specific questions about it or anything like that, and I personally read those emails, so they do come into to my inbox. So there's a contact form on the website, popinvideo.com. And I know we didn't actually talk about this before we got on, but I had my team create a special link for your listeners.
Oh, great.
If they go to popinvideo.com/mastermind, they'll actually get a free month if they want to sign up. So normally there's a
Excellent.
7-day trial available for $1, but if they go to popinvideo.com/mastermind, it'll just redirect. You won't really notice a difference. It'll redirect to the website, but then when you sign up, you'll see a promo code automatically there. They'll get a whole month for free to try it out. And, you know, like I said, it's 5 minutes from sign up to setup. So give it a shot, see how your customers like it. And, you know, take it from there. If you don't like it after the 30 days, you can cancel and no risk to you. So,
I love it. I think I
like I
might
said,
have to get all of my guests to give my listeners free stuff.
well, you know, I'm a big podcast fan. That's a pretty common thing. I don't know what your other guests have been doing. You know, I don't want to
Well, they're not
speak
giving
out of
anything
school, but
away.
so yeah,
Well, Chris,
hopefully, yeah,
thank you so much for being with us today. I truly
been my
appreciate
pleasure.
it, and I think, and even the name "Pop In," it's kind of pop in,
That
because
well,
you
you
pop
got
into
it.
a store. So I get it.
We're
I
going
think
for it.
it's thoughtfully constructed as I see it,
Mm.
and lots of uses, and best success with it. And I hope to see you soon, maybe one day face to face.
One would hope. One would hope.
All right.
One day. Thank you very much, Gary. It's been
You
an
as
absolute
well.
pleasure.
Bye
And
bye.
you take care now. Bye bye.